because you are the pitching guru. You know a thing or two about it. Kind of the state of the Orioles with pitching right now. Kind of your overall, obviously, I think Corbin Burns and Grayson Rodriguez advertised as you would hope to start a season. But how do you think the rest is kind of going to shape out? I know some people are a little bit worried about Kyle Bradish and John Means, but through the first couple of weeks, how would you kind of grade what this pitching staff has done for Baltimore?
Well, I think that, they've been strike throwers. Drew French comes over from Atlanta where he was the bullpen coach. Plasmeyer comes over, who'd been in our minor league system. So, but, to your point, John Means, I think he's pitched now 3 starts down in AAA. He has to come up within the month. So towards the last part of May, hopefully his elbow's fine. I think in talking to him in spring training, they tried to, he had a little bit of elbow soreness, so they backed him off. He hasn't pitched a lot of innings the last 2 years. So on a team, and you can't ever assume because, you play the game. Your dad would be the first guy to tell you games in April are as important sometimes as games in August and September. But for him to be able to pitch into the 120, 30, 40 inning range, it's all right for him to take, 5 weeks off, 6 weeks off, and then hopefully you'll be able to pitch if the Orioles get to the postseason. And there's no guarantee to that, but it'd be nice to do that. Kyle Bradish, we all know about UCLs. It looks like he threw the ball really well, good velocity. He threw about 50% sliders and curveballs here. Came up with a 2-seamer. But again, when he's healthy, and we'll see if that's the case, he was the best pitcher the Orioles had. He pitched like a number 1 starter.
Yeah.
And pitched well in the playoffs. The Orioles just did not hit well in that first game with runners in scoring position. So, and then you go to the bullpen. Obviously, anytime you take Felix Bautista out of a guy that's struck out, about 110 guys in 60 innings, because the Orioles' strength was multifold. They were the best team with hitting with runners in scoring position. But they're also 30-16 in 1-run games. They were 11-6 in extra inning games. So how do you came from behind 47 times? I think only the Cincinnati Reds did it more. So you better have a good bullpen. Well as I do, starting pitchers aren't pitching into the 8th and 9th innings anymore. You lose Batista, obviously, but then you get Craig Kimbrell, who's got closing in on 420 saves. Does he throw 98? No, but he's got movement. He's got deception. He ended the game the other day with a save on a great breaking ball after the guy looked like maybe he's a little bit on the fastball. So, you get somebody not to take Felix Bautista because he was that good, but he allowed you to kind of sequence your way to get to where you needed to do. This year, it's going to have to be Kimbrell. You have some guys in the minor leagues that I think are going to come up. Brian Baker, he's had some decent times for the Orioles. He still's got a great arm. You guys were talking about Suarez. He actually pitched better yesterday than he did down at AAA.
Yeah.
So I think all in all, and you guys were touching on the fact that if they do want to go out and get a pitcher, they do have a multitude of young players that are pretty desirable. And again, right now, even though there's new ownership with Dave Rubenstein, wouldn't you say we're kind of a small to mid-market ball club? So, the payroll went up from 63 million to maybe 93. And maybe Elias has always said, we want to add when we think it's going to help the ball club. Mm-hmm. But, the difficult thing for this club is you have guys that were here last year that were part of 101 wins. And there were a lot of guys that, Austin Hayes, was reading yesterday. He got hit in the shoulder. He's sick. He's 3 or 4 for 35. Even when he hits the ball hard, they catch it. But he's a Gold Glove caliber left fielder, and you're going to need that in Camden Yards. Colton Cowser is hitting like Stam usual. It's
unbelievable.
Go back. So, Mullins, walk-off home run yesterday. He did not have a great year last year because of the injuries. Santander, it'll be kind of interesting because I think Anthony's one of the best corner outfielders in the American League. And, he's going to be a potential free agent. He hit 28 home runs, usually hits between 28 and 33 home runs,
Yep.
Switch hitter. Doesn't strike out like Teoscar Hernandez, who got a $16 million deal with an $8 million deferred payment. That's $23 million, and he struck out 211 times. But I'm kind of wondering how he's going to go about business knowing he's a free agent. First time in his life that's ever happened. So there's so many different storylines. And the Orioles are, they got an off day in Kansas City. I'm sure they're all going to go get barbecue or do something like that. But then Kansas City, they're 8-2 at home. They have the best starting pitching in the American League. They've scored over 6 runs a game at home and given up a little bit over 2.
Yeah,
pretty important weekend. In fact, but again, if Ryan, I mean, your dad and I played on so many good teams. Every time, when you're thinking about 100 wins, every series, whether it's April, May, August or September, means as much, and that's what winning teams do. So we'll see how they handle this weekend.
Yeah, they got a lot of talent regardless. I think I love that you're reminding us. The group that we had, I actually got a chance, Jim, to sit down with Elias. We did an interview with him with an exclusive on the channel here on Tuesday and talking about between veterans and prospects and how you're trying to play this game. It's hard, but you're also realizing this team had a lot of success. Obviously, the number 1 team in all of the American League last year. So there's a lot of great parts. And I'm glad you brought up Santander. And you're right. He's a guy he's been actually the top run producer for the Baltimore Orioles the last 2 seasons. So it's a good problem to have. And then you have some young players, Seth Johnson, that looks healthy down the minors. Cade Povich has looked good. McDermott. So there's a multitude of guys. So we could talk about that for a while.